Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, this is the United Stand, as I just said, and are you in for a big show tonight? Not only are we going to be previewing Manchester United against Fulham in a few minutes' time, we're also going to be hitting in with a raft of stories that have come out in the last few hours in relation to Erik ten Hag, his future, more leaks potentially, and what I would describe as a headline. My personal opinion on this is that this is sacking by media. I think we're actually a little bit like Ten Hag versus Poch for the job. And remember, everybody wanted Ten Hag and they didn't want Poch. I think what we are on the cusp of here is the media trying to still see if it's got the power to sack a manager. Because I think the media, this is sacking by the media. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And I know some of you want Ten Hag out, but I do think it's sacking by media, and it's going to be very interesting to see if the modern media, who has always been powerful, still has the power to sack a Manchester United manager, or whether the club and the fans can stop it. It's going to be very, very interesting. We'll delve into that, because I'll tell you what, we're a community and every opinion matters. If you're a Ten Hag outer, I will say straight away, it was looking good for you. It was looking good, bruv. It was definitely looking good. So look, you know, at the end of the day, I think that let's get into the news around that, because there were what looked like quite credible leaks about Ten Hag getting the sack by Monday coming in from the Times, and that's where we're going to start off with. Also, I'm going to talk about some of this bullshit infighting YouTuber beef, which I'm not interested in. If people are taking what I said out of context last night and putting my name in their shows, that's because they want to use my name for clicks. I didn't name anybody last night about, you know, grabbing their camera, slapping their face and going, let's go for it. If some people want to react and think I'm talking about them, I'm not talking about them. In fact, I will, as I've always said, I ain't scared of putting somebody's, I ain't scared of calling somebody out on YouTube. I'm not scared of it at all. If I have a problem with somebody, I'll say it. The bottom line is, I don't watch anybody else's content. I've got the best community in the world with the United Stand. I don't need to watch anyone else's content. I'm just fully aware that when United lose a game, some people think, let's make a video about about Ten Hag and get a load of clicks and pretend that I'm angry. And, you know, and I think that's fake. But just to put some names into people's mouths here, just because I don't want people to think I'm talking about them out of turn, I did a quick search on Ten Hag out on YouTube today. Top 3 videos. Terry from the Football Terrace. Ten Hag sacked now. Well, you know, I'm pretty sure if you tell Terry from the Football Terrace that I've called him out for that, he won't do a video calling me names. He'll probably realise that I wasn't talking about him in the first place. I'm just confirming my point that people will be doing Ten Hag out videos. Rory, who I like, Rory Jennings, sack Erik ten Hag now, and then Glazers out and Ten Hag out from Gobi Agbonglahor. So look, I'm not wrong. I don't know why people are getting so irritated by me being proved right. I said last night people will be slapping their faces, doing the Ten Hag out videos, and that's what they'll do. If individuals want to come back and have a pop at me, I'm used to it. I'm not bothered. I've played the game. Have a pop at me, leave Ten Hag alone. I love it. But you're only having a pop at me because you want more clicks. That's what you're doing. And if I've got a problem with any individual YouTuber, I'll call them out. I'm not bothered. The reason I don't call them out is because I'm not interested in that. I'm not in 2017 anymore. I'm interested in what's best for Manchester United, and I don't want to fall out with other Man United fans, because that's why we fail. So to all that juvenile stuff, talk about me as much as you like. We've probably got people watching tonight to see what I'm going to say. I'm not in an individual battle with anybody. You know, Alice talks football. Maybe she's used the word rant in her thing as well. Got no issue with her at all. Fair play for all these people doing content. I know how hard it is. All I'm saying is, hypothetically, last night, I was right. There'll be people slapping themselves around the face, angry about Ten Hag, when actually, have they got anything other than anger? Are they just shouting Ten Hag out? Or are they saying, I want Ten Hag to go because I think we could get Zidane. And if Zidane comes in, he will get the best out of these players and we'll win the Champions League. Now, that's an interesting argument. Ten Hag out, I've had enough. No. Not for me. Mark, talk facts. How you well, mate? Keep up the good work. Look, Tumbleweed, I don't care if you Ten Hag out. I don't care if you Ten Hag out. What if Ten Hag keeps losing? Will you back him, Sister Minka? Well, yes. I've already admitted I'm going to be stubborn. Look, but let's get into the news. We can talk about that a little bit later. This is how the afternoon went. We're doing this live. You're going to get the inner workings of a Goldbridge show. I haven't prepped anything tonight. I've not even prepped anything about the preview. So we'll just do it as we go along. So this broke this afternoon from the Times. And I know the official line from Manchester United here. So let me read this. Breaking, Man United are considering alternatives to Ten Hag, who is thought to be on thin ice after overseeing the club's worst start to a season in 61 years. This is from the Times. A senior source at Manchester United said that 2 heavy defeats at Old Trafford have left him at the risk of being sacked. The club is understood to be looking at the Sporting Lisbon manager and Zinedine Zidane as potential replacements to Ten Hag, although the situation is hugely complicated by the uncertainty over the ownership. Sir Jim's Ineos Group is waiting to complete the purchase of the club and hopes to take responsibility for these sort of decisions, such as the manager's position. And also the club have been adamant that they're committed to Ten Hag and believe that he can turn things around. Ten Hag was not regarded as under pressure, but after the defeats of the past week, he now needs an upturn in results and performances to ward off a gathering crisis. Nobody at the club expected this season to unravel as quick as it has done and hoped that Ten Hag represented stability after a decade of managerial turmoil. It is understood that some players do not believe Ten Hag has the right attributes to get the team out of the mess they find themselves in, while discussions have been laid over the intensity of the training, with some believing that it's contributing towards injuries. Man United did their due diligence before Ten Hag was selected, and he was the preferred option. There's now suggestion that Ten Hag's position is under imminent threat, but he knows football results. Sorry, that's another. So that's all from the Times, right? That's all from the Times. Ten Hag's job is on thin ice. They're looking at Zidane, etc., and it's from a senior source. Manchester United will confirm to anybody that asks them that they're very disappointed with the Times article, and it's completely not true. So there was hope for the Ten Hag outers, but it's been pulled away. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on is that the media are trying to sack Ten Hag. They're trying to flex their muscles. They're trying to sack Ten Hag. I saw a bullet point in The Athletic this afternoon where it said Ten Hag press conferences is like talking to a piece of wood. This is getting personal. It's getting disrespectful. It's getting unprofessional. But and you've got to be fair to me, sometimes I talk bollocks, sometimes I get it right. I did say, when Ten Hag got the job, and some of you will remember, I said the media will go for him the first chance they get because they never wanted him in the first place. And some of you will know I said that. Those knives will be kept in the drawer, but they will be sharp. And as soon as anything goes wrong, they will go for him. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing offensive things said about Ten Hag, which border on xenophobia. Let's be honest. His the way he speaks and how slow he speaks is because English is not his first language. And, people are subtly trying to ridicule him like they did Ranić. This is trial by media. They are trying to sack him by media. Manchester United are not talking to Zidane. They're not talking to the Sporting Lisbon manager. Manchester United are not talking to anybody. Manchester United at this moment in time are not even planning or thinking or looking at a contingency plan. If Man United sacked Ten Hag because we lost 20-0 at the weekend, McLaren and Fletcher would take over. There is no plan to bring anybody else in. So all these media outlets that are saying that we're close to bringing somebody in, he's on thin ice, is bullshit. And what they're trying to do is they see certain United fans who are Ten Hag out, some of you, I respect that, and they see this as an opportunity to build momentum to get Ten Hag out. I think this is trial by media. I think this is sacking by media, and I think this is the old media trying to see if they've still got the power to make decisions happen like they used to. And they did used to. I remember Graham Taylor at England, the turnip on the head. It used to get very, very nasty. And I think the media are just trying to sack Ten Hag. We see it every single day. People who don't even support Manchester United doing videos on Manchester United, talking on the radio about Manchester United, talking on the TV about Manchester United. Ten Hag this, Ten Hag that. How many articles and how many people have I heard talking today about Anthony? Sell Anthony now. Get rid of Bruno now. Bruno came on last night and was the only one fighting for the club. Anthony wasn't the only player who played yesterday, and he didn't play again in the fucking derby. So, look, I know what this is all about. It's tactics to get our manager out. But the bottom line is, at the moment, whether people like it or not, and some of you won't like it, Ten Hag's job is not under scrutiny. It is not in danger because Manchester United won't listen to the media. Manchester United will listen to the fans. The media are trying to turn the fans against Ten Hag, and Man United are keeping an eye on the fans. It's fans who sack the manager. I've always said this. Chelsea fans sacked Potter. Bowley did not want to sack Potter. The media didn't want Potter to go because he was English. Chelsea fans sacked Potter because they were vocal, they didn't want him, and Todd Bowley had to listen. The media didn't want Potter to get sacked, the fans did. Fans sack managers, not the media. And whilst Man United fans stick with Ten Hag in the majority, Ten Hag will stay in position. Now, I know some of you are Ten Hag out, that's fine, but that's sort of where we are with Manchester United at the moment. And that Times article, even Man United will say it, they're disappointed in it. Now, The Athletic have come out and said there is no suggestion that Ten Hag's position is under imminent threat, but he knows football is a results business and a run of 8 defeats in 15 is not up to scratch, which I think is completely and utterly acceptable. TalkSport have said the Man United board have no immediate desire to sack Erik Ten Hag. However, the under-fire Dutchman is under pressure to mastermind an upturn in fortunes to keep his long-term future going. We'll talk about Varane in a minute, and the United Stand, nothing to do with me. This is Twitter. We've got some really good people working on our Twitter account. The United Stand understands that as it stands, Man United are not exploring alternatives to Ten Hag. It's also understood that the club were not given the right to respond ahead of the publication from the Times. So Manchester United, if the Times had contacted them about their source, would have given them different information. The Telegraph are saying that Man United players are questioning Erik Ten Hag's strict methods in his handling of Jadon Sancho and Harry Maguire, with the Dutch manager heading into a crucial run of matches that could potentially decide his fate. Now, that article concerns me. It is understood a number of players in Ten Hag's squad privately have not agreed with his hardline stance on his own players. Ten Hag does still have some loyalists within the squad, though, who remain convinced that his authoritarian approach is what's needed to turn Manchester United around. And I would throw this question to you. I would throw this question to our community. Who is right there? Are you with the players that think that Ten Hag's been too tough on Sancho and Maguire? Or are you with the players that think that his authoritarian approach is the right way to go? Because ultimately, what we have, ladies and gentlemen, is what we had with Ranić, which is a split in the dressing room. You've got people sympathetic to Sancho and Maguire, and you've got people who are loyal to Ten Hag. And ultimately, my stance is, this is devastating. Because obviously, I'm on the side of the authoritarians who back Ten Hag, but the fact that there's a split in the dressing room means we're fucked anyway. This is, you cannot have a team when there is a split in the dressing room. And I would say to those players, Space says you portray United. I've got to go through some super chats here. We'll come back to this. It's an ongoing conversation. You portray the United Stand as a community, but in fact, recently it's become a platform only for your monologues. If you're just going to laugh or ignore your opposed opinions on super chats, just turn it off, says Space. Don't know what you're talking about, Space. You are on the biggest Manchester United fan community in the world. It is built on fan opinion, and it has always been that for 8 years. This afternoon, we had a call-in show where everybody's welcome to get involved, and you're projecting your hate, probably for me, through the platform of a super chat to try and make a point which is invalid. I'm sat on my own, presenting a show at 8 o'clock, like I have done for 9 years, giving you my opinion with the buffer that obviously I'm going to project my opinion onto you, but I don't dictate it. You have every right to have a different opinion to me, and I embrace it, as I have from day one, because I like the fact that people might disagree with me, because it means they have their own opinion and they're not sheep. So I can't help the fact, as an individual presenting a show, that I present my opinion, but I don't expect you to follow it. In fact, I don't care if you do or not. In fact, I don't even care if you're Ten Hag out. All I ask is that you tell me what the plan is if you get rid of him. So I disagree with you there. If he is fired in the future, the best possible scenario is we get Hansi Flick as interim. Well, Jack, the problem with Hansi Flick is, and thank you very much for giving an alternative, because not many people do. The problem with the problem with Hansi Flick is that he plays not the same, but a similar style of football to Ten Hag, and is also a disciplinarian. Didn't work out with him well for Germany, but he is a good coach. If you bring Hansi Flick in, I think you are basically replicating the problem. You are bringing a coach in that actually might like some of the players that we have, because he's, similar to Ten Hag. But the players that have a problem with Ten Hag are going to have a problem with Hansi Flick. The players that have a problem with Ten Hag are going to have a problem with Conte. They're disciplinarian managers. So this is what I mean. Like, tell me a manager that's... You basically bring in the same problem in, I think, in my opinion. Everyone seems to forget why we wanted Ten Hag. Like Ranić, he built a good team, not refurbished a rubbish one. The Glazers changed the damn plan, says Bradley. Well, look, the interesting thing is here, and let's just talk about that Telegraph article. We've got apparently some players that are loyal to Sancho and Maguire, and some people that are loyal to Ten Hag. But what I don't mind, again, I don't mind if there's players in the dressing room not happy with Ten Hag. I mean, piss off and leave. That's what you should do. It's not your club. You know, you don't own the club. The manager's the boss. Fuck off. Simple as that. But what I don't get is that Ten Hag told Maguire to go. He said he wanted to sell him. He took the captaincy off him and said he wanted him to go. And Maguire said he wanted to stay. And Ten Hag said, if you want to stay, fine, but you're fourth or fifth choice centre-back. So Maguire decided to stay. Ten Hag was honest with him. He said, I want you to go. I'm happy to take the 30 million from West Ham, and Maguire stayed. So why are people... That Telegraph article is flawed straight away. Why are people in the dressing room disappointed with the way that Ten Hag has treated Maguire? When Ten Hag was very respectful of Maguire in the summer, called him in and said, I want to accept the West Ham bid. You're not my captain anymore. I'd like you to move on. And Maguire didn't. So why is that bad treatment? Manager decides to sell a player. Did the Man City players go on a revolt when Pep Guardiola got rid of Sterling? Did they do it when he got rid of Jesus? Manager wants to sell a player and dressing room's not happy about it. And as for Sancho, why would a Man United player be loyal to Jadon Sancho? He won't apologise. If he apologises, he's back training with Man United. I mean, how can a player at Man United think Ten Hag is wrong for not letting Sancho train when he won't apologise, when he's publicly undermined the manager, the fans and the players with a tweet? All he's got to do is apologise. So I don't understand that story in the Telegraph, this split in the dressing room of people that think Ten Hag's been a bit harsh on Maguire and Sancho. Maguire could have left and Sancho could apologise. I think the manager's just doing what I would do, what most of us would do. Frustrating to see the media protect Poch, but go on Ten Hag, says Jose. Hopefully we are here better, but player power and media influence fans worry me, says Jose. Welcome to Members Club, Will. Ten Hag should be given the season, says Curtis. We're not even a quarter of the way in. Yes, it's an awful start, but we had a fantastic season last year. And do you think the issue is we have counter-attacking team built for a possession coach? Yes, I do, the beast. I do. And also, Alice is very good, Milo. She is. Look, can I just say, I'm not calling any YouTubers out, like Alice, Terry, Rory. I've just used you as an example because other people have apparently been calling me out, and I wasn't calling anybody out. I will mention a YouTuber if you want me to that I think is a load of shite, but I don't do that because it's childish, and I used to do that 6 years ago, and I learnt the error of my ways. I can't be arsed with YouTube beef. I want the United fan base to be united. I don't need to get into silly, petty, childish arguments. The reason I used Alice, Terry and Rory was because last night I said there will be people doing videos tonight ranting about Ten Hag out, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Now, I haven't watched their content. I don't know what they've said. I'm just using it as an example that I was right. There will be people who did videos saying Ten Hag out, but I haven't watched their videos. I don't know. Maybe in one of those videos, they've gone, I want Ten Hag out because I think the players will never play for him. It's not fair on him. He's better off going. And I quite like the idea of Conte, and he's free. I don't agree with that, but, it's progressive. I've used them as an example because people think I'm talking about other people, which I'm not. I don't watch anybody to know what anybody else has said. I'm just very pro Ten Hag, stubbornly. And I think some people will go Ten Hag out because they think it's a good click. Just the same way people will do a video about me. I mean, look, if people are doing videos about me thinking I'm talking about them, then the shoe must fit. You know what I mean? If they think I'm talking about them when I say there'll be people slapping themselves around the face and going, Ten Hag out, then the shoe must fit. Because I wasn't talking about anybody individually. You can search YouTube yourself and you'll find 10, 20 videos of people going Ten Hag out. Because I know that's happened. Gobby Agbonlahor did it. Loads of people were doing it. If I want to call somebody out, I'll call Neville out. I'll call Keane out. I'll call Gobby Agbonlahor out. I'm not scared of doing it. I've always done it. So look, I'm not interested in that, and I'm not calling anybody out. It's very hard to operate in this industry. It takes a lot of stress. It takes a lot of time. It takes talent. And fair play to the people I mentioned, like Terry, Rory, and Alice. Fair play for doing content. I have got no issue with them at all. We're a community. Let's get back to what I was talking about. But look, I keep trying to defend him, but when he puts Bruno right wing, Lindelof left back, Evans over Varane for tactics, MJ, our argument falls down. He's lost his self-belief. Look, I ain't got a problem with that. I'm going to talk to you about Varane in a minute. I'm going to talk to you about this Fulham game. Look, Ten Hag's making mistakes. Let's not forget about it. But you know, if your brother or sister or mother or lover makes a mistake, do you cut them off? Or do you give him a chance? Ten Hag's making mistakes. He's making mistakes, but they're not enough for me to cut him off. I'm not pretending that everything's going well. It's not. You know, he's doing things I completely disagree with, but I'm not cutting him off. I don't think that's the right thing. You know, I have sympathy for him. He is making mistakes, definitely. And, you know, he could get the sack, but I'm not going to cut him off. Don't listen to the hate, Mark. You're one of the only people in the community looking out for the club's interest and giving reasonable commentary on the situation. So, Sid, we shouldn't be falling out. We shouldn't be falling out. You know, I wouldn't do my content in a way where I said, if you're Ten Hag out, piss off, go away. I respect Ten Hag outers. I just don't understand what you want to happen, and I don't agree with it happening. But, you know, you can't. I don't want United fans arguing with each other. I never have. I don't want that. Jesus couldn't get this squad to play together, and he couldn't miracle Rashford to make a cross, and he's Jesus, says Paul. Yeah. All I've got to say is we sacked Ten Hag, watch him come back and haunt us. I can see Chelsea going for him in the future. It would be interesting, says Glenny Boy. And Mark, you said players and Glazers before Ten Hag. Glazers signed with Jim, and the players are on small fortunes. They aren't going anywhere, but he can, says Thiago. Look, you know, when I said this morning the players need to go because they've got the power, it can't happen. The club won't get rid of them. They're on massive contracts. They're on more money than Ten Hag. It's a money game at United. I honestly, if you want to know what I think is going to happen, I think if the results don't improve and the players don't back this manager, they'll get him sacked. Because sadly, that's what got Mourinho sacked. And Mourinho's got a better CV than Ten Hag. That's what got Ollie sacked. When the players decide to turn on the manager, they get what they want. We're Player Power FC. No football club has got rid of more managers than Man United players. We are Player Power FC. Because even if Ten Hag was on the same wage as Rashford, what about Bruno's wage, Harry Maguire's wage, Jadon Sancho's wage? The weekly wage of those Man United players runs into tens of millions of pounds. From a club's point of view, who are you going to get rid of? The players that are on tens of millions of pounds a week that you can't get rid of, or Ten Hag who's on 100 grand a week. So, you know, they'll get rid of him for financial reasons. If this was Poch, you would want him out, says Rory. Yes, I would. And you make a great point, Rory. You make a great point. I wanted to come back to this. Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad that 18 months ago, we were doing polls for Ten Hag or Poch, and it was 95% Ten Hag. Everybody in this community basically was Ten Hag. Ten Hag, we don't want Poch, we don't want Poch. 18 months later, there are people turning on Ten Hag saying they'd rather have Poch. So you were wrong then. I'm not pointing fingers, but you were wrong. You were wrong. Are you admitting you're wrong? Because I'm still sticking with what I said. I wanted Ten Hag 18 months ago for the same reasons I want him to stay. I don't think this ship is sinking completely yet. I think it's salvageable. I'll stick by what I've said. I will not be saying the words Ten Hag. You won't get me doing it. But also, what did I say this morning? If Arteta didn't have Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, White and Rice, they'd struggle. Well, we haven't got Shaw, Martinez, Varane, Wan-Bissaka and Casemiro. So I think we're going to struggle. I think defensively, the goals we concede are amateur. But there's a lot more going on as well. You call out ex-players all the time to grow your channel, then have a pop at other creators calling you out when you was clearly disrespectful. Pimp down. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't call out ex-players to grow my channel. My channel is your channel, and it's bigger than most ex-players. It's a massive community. Well done to you for growing it, because it's not down to me. If I want to call out another content creator, I'll do it. I don't need to hide. I never have. Years ago, I used to call out Full-Time Devils and everybody, and I wish I never had, but I did. I've learnt my lesson. I don't do that, but if I wanted to do it, I would. I don't know who these content creators think why they think I'm talking about them, apart from the fact I think they put my name in their mouth to get more views again, possibly. I don't know. But if I need to call somebody out, or if I've got a problem with somebody, I'll tell them. I don't want people fighting in the fan base. If you're Ten Hag out, fine. But don't tell me people aren't doing videos going Ten Hag out and then not telling you why. Oh, I'm so angry. Ten Hag out. Get him out. I've had enough. Sack him now. I don't need to search YouTube. I know they'll be out there. Do you know how many Man United content creators there are as well? Like, you think there's 4 or 5. There's probably about 90 videos last night from small to big. And I just know how this works. I know I've played the game. I've done it. I've done it myself. I did it with fucking Van Gaal. I've played the game. And sometimes the person who's played the game knows. I know how it works. I used to do it with Van Gaal. We'd have a bad result. I wanted him to go. Get him out now. And I'd be doing it in February where there's no manager to come in. And, you've got to wait till the summer anyway. I'm a hypocrite. I have done it. That's why I'm calling it out, because it's a waste of energy. If you've got no plan, why are you shouting Ten Hag out other than anger? I respect what somebody said before about Hansi Flick. But my problem with Hansi Flick is that I think he's too similar to Ten Hag and he's too much of a disciplinarian. Rangnick, very similar to Hansi Flick. Ten Hag, very similar to Hansi Flick. Conte, these type of managers won't work with this squad. They don't like hard work. They're talking about the intensity of the training. They've spoken about going home in the dark. These players don't like managers that are disciplinarians. They like managers that are their mate, like Ollie. And then they'll turn on him when the results go bad. I don't think any manager could work with these set of players. Some of them they can. I think people like Rasmus Højlund, Casemiro, Varane, Bruno. I think there are certain players in that squad that you can work with, Luke Shaw. But some of them, I don't think there's a manager that suits certain players in that team, because I think they are weak-minded. I think they're lazy. And I think that they have very, very high opinions of themselves as individuals, and they're not team players. I mean, that's something that doesn't get said enough. I think we've got good individual players that are not team workers. Maybe that's because they want to be the centre of the universe. But look, how many of these players put little clips out about themselves? How many of these players are about brand them? There's quite a few of them. And how many of them have got a CV of winning things in teams? How many of them have got highlight reels of individual brilliance, but have got actual CVs of winning as a team? Say what you like about James Milner. His highlights reel may not be that bad, that great, but his CV as winning things as a team player is brilliant. I'd take 10 James Milners over 10 individuals, and United, unfortunately, are a team of individuals, and individuals will look out for themselves, and individuals are not going to work for a manager that is about the team. People like Mourinho, Ten Hag, Pep, Klopp, Conte, they're about the collective team. But as we know with a team, it only takes 1 out of the 11 to be a dissenter and your team will crumble. It's like a sand castle that's built perfectly. But when you've got the dry sand on the edge of the castle and it starts to, every bit of wind, it starts to break the castle falls down eventually. I'm very much of the opinion that we have some players that are more than capable of being part of this future. But unfortunately, there is some poison in that team that are going to destroy it all the time. Gary Neville said a really interesting thing on the Webby and O'Neill channel today. He said that put me in that team and I'd be a bad player. But put Harry Maguire in the back four with Evra, Rio and me and he'd be a really good player. Now, I disagree with that. I actually disagree with that point because Harry Maguire's not as good as Vidic, so it wouldn't be as good. But on another way, I was like, well, I get what he means. He means that team played as a team. And if you put Maguire into it, he's not good enough to be able to influence it. So he'd have to shut up and get on with his job and just be a defender. And if he fucked about, people would tell him to shut up because they're better than him. And that's what used to happen. I was speaking to Ben Foster about this on the United Stand, I think, the other day. And I said, what Ben Foster said off camera, I can't repeat because, obviously he's got a career in the media and he wants to do interviews and stuff like that. But what he said off camera about this current United squad, I'd love to release the Schneider cut because, he only said what we think. But he was like, he used the C word. But then on camera, obviously we diluted it. And what he was basically saying is that this set of players, they don't have the Man United mentality. And there's too many people who fuck about in that team who think that they're Billy Big Bollocks and they're allowed to get away with it. And I said to him, well, take me back to your time. And Ben Foster's a fantastic person to talk to because, all right, he wasn't Man United's number one, but he was at United for a few years. He was training with the Rooneys and the Scholes and the Giggs and the Nevilles. And he always says to me it was really intimidating. I mean, what a life to have actually, I know he's reserve goalkeeper, but every day you're training with those players. Experience, I'd have loved it. You're actually monitoring that mentality. And I said, imagine this current United team if you dropped 4 or 5 of those players into training, in 2007. What would they do? Or 2009, whenever Ben was there. And he said they wouldn't last 5 minutes because if any of them fucked about, they'd be taken aside by certain senior players and told to up their game or fuck off. And he said that's what it was like. When you were part of the team, they'd back you, they'd stick with you, they'd do anything for you. But if you fucked about and jeopardised Man United and their careers, they'd fuck you off. Sir Alex wouldn't need to do anything, they'd get rid of you. And I was just listening to this, enthralled, going, wow, that's why we were successful. Because we had players that did the manager's job. And if anybody came in late or anybody left a bib on the floor, they'd be outed in the Carrington training dressing room. Ben Foster said that happened once. Somebody left their training bib out, and I think it was Neville or Scholes or somebody came in and said, whose bib's this? And ridiculed them and embarrassed them in front of the whole dressing room because it was authoritarian. It was discipline. Ten Hag is only trying to do what the likes of Scholes and Giggs and Neville and Keane and everybody was doing 15 years ago. But these players are pampered millionaires. They wouldn't survive. And I think that's what Gary was getting at when he said you could drop Maguire into our team and he'd be a decentish player. Because he wouldn't be able to fuck about. He'd have to get on with it. He wouldn't be able to moan about whatever he wants to moan about. I'm not saying Maguire is the moaner. But Neville was saying if he was in the current United team, he'd struggle. And I think he would. Because he'd be banging his head against the brick wall. He'd be going, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? And everyone would look at him and go, what's he on about? Ronaldo's the prime example. Ronaldo demanded high standards and the players didn't follow him. He was like, what the fuck is going on at this football club? And the players didn't follow him. It's a massive rebuild. And that's why I side with Ten Hag, because I think that Ten Hag represents what United used to be. Disciplinarian, everybody on the same page. And we've just created this environment of, everyone's having a bloody laugh, looking out for themselves. If you call everyone opposed to you a troll, then this is not a community. Space, second super chat from Space. I want to apologise on behalf of him. I don't know what he's talking about. He's come out with 2 comments that we're not even talking about now. But I apologise because we're not having that sort of an evening anyway, and it's not that sort of community. Mark, I blame most of these players. I'm Ten Hag all in, says Ja. And if given new owners, I would get rid of everyone other than who Ten Hag has signed, resetting everything rather than being with a terrible non-toxic squad, says Duke. I think it's a real shame that certain players are injured at the moment. There's a few rumours going round about... in fact, let's just do a quick poll here. I like this sort of thing, and we are a community, and it is a democracy. Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. And then I will preview Fulham. Apologies. I'm going to have to timestamp the Fulham preview. Lasidi says, technically, points-wise, we're actually doing better than Liverpool was last season. I really believe people need to have more patience and give Ten Hag the time Klopp and Arteta got, says Lasidi. Yes, I agree. Also, I just want to say that, Fulham at the weekend, we're going to preview in a minute. Copenhagen away on Tuesday and Luton. We really need to win all 3. I'm not convinced we will win all 3. I think we might not beat Fulham at the weekend, but we do need to win all 3. And I know for a fact there are people in that team that are raring to go. I know for a fact that Rasmus and Bruno and Anthony and Ericsson and Casemiro, but he won't be fit, that they're ready to go. Whether it's for backing the Ten Hag or professional pride, they're ready to go and they will give everything. It doesn't mean they're going to play well, but they're ready to go and give everything. I really wish we had Martinez. I really wish we had Luke Shaw. I'm glad that Wan-Bissaka's back. I wish Casemiro was fit, because I think if we could put a team out of Onana, Shaw, Martinez, Varane, Wan-Bissaka, Casemiro, Amrabat, Bruno, Rashford, Højlund, Anthony, I think we'd start to improve. I really, really do. But the problem is we can't get that team out at the moment, and it is a problem. Even if we didn't have all the other problems, I still think you have to take on board we would struggle anyway. We would struggle anyway with Maguire, Lindelof, Reguilon, Dalot, and McTominay or whoever else is going to hold the midfield. You'd struggle with that anyway. The Premier League is very competitive. But yeah, look, technically, we've done that one. Mark, you keep talking about mentality and stuff. Players lack. Yeah, but you've personally said Sancho and Anthony have a good mentality before we signed them. Even we need to look at if a player has it. Says, okay. Well, look, I don't do the scouting. I don't know Jadon Sancho and I don't know Anthony. I was very happy to sign those players. And it's unfair for me or you to take the responsibility for them flopping. You know, I will put my hands up. I was very excited about Sancho and I was very excited about Anthony. But if I'd been given the job of scouting them, then I probably wouldn't have been excited, because I think you've got to uncover the issues, and we didn't do it. We didn't. Ralph was right. We need open heart surgery, says BD. And I wish that Rashford that pulls on Man United shirt was the same one that wears the England shirt, says James. Look, every single Man United player tomorrow, needs to look in the mirror and stop blaming everybody else. If I was in that United team now, whether I'm Rasmus, whether I'm Bruno, whether I'm Harry Maguire, whether I'm Marcus Rashford, if I'm those players, the last thing I'm doing is going, I'm not the problem. And Rasmus is not the problem. He's been a breath of fresh air. And I don't think Bruno's the problem either. But I would be fair and say to all of them, don't think you're not the problem. Don't think someone else is the problem. Look in the mirror and go, am I doing everything I can for this football club and this manager? And if you're not, it's on you. And collectively, if they all do that, we'll bounce back. I genuinely don't think the manager is the issue here. I think the players have lost their way and they're not focused. The Glazers are the Glazers. They are a poison to this football club and they always have been. But losing to Newcastle at home in the Carabao Cup really isn't on the Glazers on the minute detail of that game. The wider picture is that everything's the Glazers' fault, of course. But we shouldn't be losing to Newcastle like that. I think the players have got to take a long, hard look at themselves and, you know, stop playing for themselves and play for the badge and play for the fans, because you can always win these United fans back when you do that. We need to guarantee Ten Hag time so he can build his team at his own pace and not gamble on short-term success signings, says Sid. Man United's 50 feet in 10 home games this season. That hasn't happened since 1930, says George. And we all said before, United need a rebuild over 4 or 5 years. Yet after Ten Hag's first season, people want to have him out. It's a joke, says Lewis. And articles said Ferguson out 2 years in, and 1 year later he was unstoppable, says Vol. And Ten Hag needs to be kept till the end of this contract. At least the only change I'll make is a good director of football, says Baron. And interesting comment by Ralph just after the heart surgery comment. He followed up by saying no one manager can do it alone, and it is the whole club, says Brian. Yeah, I agree. 76% of you with Ten Hag, by the way, which gives me a lot of joy, because they can't sack him if the fans don't sack him. It's the fans that sack the manager. It's not the media. And, you know, as I said this morning, players play badly, leak from the dressing room. It's a contradiction. There may be trouble ahead. I would guarantee you there'll be trouble ahead. But we've got to stick together as much as we can. And we've got to respect the people who are Ten Hag out. You know, everyone's got the right to an opinion. Some people like a Twix. Some people like a Bounty. Some people don't like chocolate. You know, at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their opinion. My only issue with the Ten Hag out brigade is sometimes it does come across as Ten Hag out, I've had enough, sack him now. And I don't like that. I do think it's fake and I do think it's fraudulent. But not in an offensive way. I just mean that, you know, screaming and shouting Ten Hag out doesn't do anything, really. We've done it for Van Gaal, we've done it for Jose, we've done it for Ollie. What I like is the chat we had earlier on where it was like, I don't really want Ten Hag anymore, I'd like to go for Hansi Flick. I can't argue with that. Nobody can argue with that. It's thought out, it's rational, it's calm. You can't argue with the person who said that, you know, it's our worst start since 1930. And if that's the reason you want Ten Hag, fine. But we can't just be angry Ten Hag out. I mean, I've literally heard people say Ten Hag out. And then you go, for who? Well, I don't know. Just get rid of the manager. Well, you know, come on. We're better than that. You know, social media fans are winning the war against the media. That's the headline. Mainstream media are terrified of you. They're terrified of this community. It's massive. They're terrified of the numbers. Why are they terrified? Because it's authentic and real. You can't just be Ten Hag out. Ten Hag out. Get him out. You can't be that. You're better than that. I'm not against you being Ten Hag out. I just want you to fulfill your potential. Tell us why you're Ten Hag out. And no, don't tell us why. Tell us what happens when Ten Hag goes. Tell us what you would do if Ten Hag went. And then we can have a conversation. And that Hansi Flick one was really interesting because Hansi Flick's available. But he's also an authoritarian like Rangnick and Ten Hag. And as we know, these players don't like authoritarians. So you may as well stick with Ten Hag. It'll be cheaper, in my opinion. A fortune cookie told me my team will win a major trophy, says BD. Ronaldo was trying what you said, Neville, Scholes, etc., doing in the dressing room, and it didn't work, says Peter. Look, a lot of what Ronaldo said when he left was because he wanted to get out. The Piers Morgan interview was unprofessional. It wasn't needed. It was basically to get him out of his contract, and it worked. But also, a lot of what he said was right. He should have just said it sooner. I love Ronaldo. But, you know, and also, Ronaldo was saying a lot of this stuff before the Piers Morgan interview. You know, he wasn't happy with the facilities. He was frustrated with Maguire as captain. I don't know whether he liked Maguire, by the way. I don't know whether he had an issue with Maguire. But, you know, he just didn't feel that the leadership was strong enough. He didn't feel that the training was intense enough. I mean, this is a guy who's 37 and needs to train hard every day. You know, he's defying physical logic. And he just wasn't happy. And the Piers Morgan interview was to get out. But he wasn't happy, and he was right. It seems like we're doomed to repeat this cycle that ends with sacking a manager, says Welbert, until the Glazers go. And I'd go the other way and give Ten Hag a contract. It would put the fear factor to the players, says Alan. I mean, I tell you what, I would absolutely love it if they gave Ten Hag a new contract. It would be a massive statement of intent. It would be up yours to the media. It would be up yours to the players. I'd love it. I would love it. They won't do it, but I would love it. I had a Scouser mockers that Casemiro is top scorer. If the media got their choice with Poch and he was in the same position, the knives would just be as sharp. Not at Chelsea. It's because we're Manchester United, says Matt. Nick, thank you very much for your joining the members. And at this point, we should play younger players who are hungry and will fight for the badge, says Devon. I mean, but you know what, Devon? In an ideal world, I love what you're saying, but I think we're already putting too much pressure on Mainu, who's never really played for the first team. And I think Hannibal last night, exemplified, evidenced, should I say, the problem with throwing young kids in. You throw Hannibal Mabry in, and he's like a puppy off the lead. He was everywhere, and he could have been sent off. And then he ends up having a bad game, and people go, he's not the answer. Hannibal Mabry last night was the exact problem with throwing young players in to a situation where they can't be nurtured. The class of 92 succeeded because they had Steve Bruce and Peter Schmeichel and Roy Keane and Eric Cantona there to protect them. You throw a young player into this situation, they haven't got the experience, they haven't got players to nurture them and protect them. And I think we saw that with Hannibal last night. But, you know, so I don't think the youth are the answer, but I sort of get what you mean. You want to throw players in that are going to work hard and play without agenda, etc. Anyway, let's preview the Fulham game because we are playing Fulham very, very soon. It's Thursday night tonight. We're playing Fulham on Saturday lunchtime. We've got a Ten Hag press conference tomorrow, which I'm going to do. I'm very interested to see what's going to be said. That's the lineup I'd go with as a predicted lineup. Do you believe Ten Hag is capable of sorting this mess out, says Gary? I do, and it will be the sweetest cake to eat if he does. Nothing in my United supporting body wants more than for United to turn this round. And the people who play for Ten Hag will have a personal respect and patience from me. I don't care if it's McTominay, Maguire, Rashford. Look, I'm saying to those players now, maybe I've given you stick in the past and I think you've deserved it, but what an opportunity to be part of the players that turn this around and keep this manager in a job. And I will bloody love it if we do. I don't know whether it'll happen, but I don't care who you are. I've swept that aside. You know, I think Maguire should have gone in the summer. I'm not a big fan of McTominay. I think Martial should have gone. You know, I don't care who it is. Turn this around and you'll have my respect. That is the opportunity. And I'm almost giving an amnesty to United players and saying, look, everything you've done in the past, the criticism, the praise, whatever, this is an amnesty. This is a call to action. Because if you sack another manager, I don't think I can come back from that. I don't think I can trust you ever again. But if you back this manager and get behind this manager as a collective and start picking up the results, you'll have my respect. And I think you'll have the respect of a lot of people. But whether they'll do it or not, They've sacked other managers. I wonder if we had a manager that the media liked, if they would turn on the players instead, says BRZ. But they won't. The reason the media won't turn on players is because they've got relationships with the players. I think that's what it's all about. Anyway, look, we're playing Fulham at the weekend. Really interesting game. Look, really, really interesting. When you look at the record of both teams so far, Fulham have played 4 games at home. They've won 2, they've lost 2, they've scored 4, and they've conceded 6. Manchester United, away from home, have won 2, lost 2, scored 4, and conceded 6. Identifiable home and away records this season. 6 points for each as well. So what's the lesson there? Well, they've won 2 and lost 2, both of them. They've only scored 4 goals, Fulham at home and us away. We're averaging 1 goal every away game. They're averaging 1 goal every home game. This, to me, has got 1-1 written all over it if you follow the stats. Fulham don't score many goals, which is quite good for us, but we don't score many goals either. So I think that this game is probably going to be quite tight. We could lose this 1 or 2-0. We could win it 1 or 2-0, or it could be, a 0-0 or a 1-1. Ultimately, this stage of the season, a draw might not be a bad result. And I know we need to win, but what do we need to win for? We need to win because we're Manchester United, but we're not getting top 4. This is a rebuild within a season. So the main thing for me at the weekend is to not concede and to put in a good performance. And I think we will win if that happens. The problem we've got is building an 11 that's capable of winning, because Casemiro is going to be out. Luke Shaw and Martinez are not going to be back, and they're not going to be back for a while. Varane is a concern. There's a lot of rumour. I mean, normally we'd be talking about the Varane story. There's a lot of rumours around Varane. The official line is that he is ill, and we've got to go with that. But the official line from Ten Hag was that he dropped Varane at the weekend, which I still don't believe. I still cannot believe that he dropped Varane for Evans and Maguire. And apparently Varane's not happy about that. But I wouldn't be happy about that. It's completely and utterly illogical. And for all the backing of Ten Hag I do, and I still back him anyway, that is just criminal. It's criminal to drop Varane for Evans and Maguire. So he's got to put Varane back in his team. Now, if he dropped Varane for the Man City game because he thought we were going to lose anyway and didn't want to risk Varane getting injured, it might piss Varane off, but it might be quite logical in a way. But you've got to get Varane back in the team, Eric. Like, if you're falling out with Raphael Varane, you've got a problem. Raphael Varane's not a troublemaker. He's a professional. I've followed Varane's career for years. I watched his documentary on Amazon years ago. He is an absolute top defender with a great attitude. So, Varane for me has to be back in the team. It's a toss of a coin between Lindelof and Maguire, but I think Lindelof plays better with Varane, so I'd drop Maguire. I'd like to play Wan-Bissaka at right back. I just don't know whether he can play. So I've put Delo there. Reguilon's got to play. No Casemiro. Amrabat's got to play. I think Eriksen's the best number 8 we've got. He has his deficiencies. He has his weaknesses, but at least he can get on the ball. So I think you've got to play Eriksen. We're not playing Man City, so you can play Eriksen there. Bruno's got to play as the 10. Anthony and Rashford are the best wingers we've got. Obviously, there's issues there. And Højlund plays down the middle. And I think if that team turns up and plays as a collective, I think we can get a result. I don't think we'll win 3 or 4-0, but I think we can get a result. Donna says that Varane can't pass. Neither can Maguire and neither can Lindelof. And Varane is better than both of them. So, yeah, Varane is a better passer than Lindelof, and he's a better passer than Maguire, and he's a better defender than Maguire and Lindelof. So I don't really get what your point is, in my opinion. But I think that's the team to go with. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws McTominay in, because McTominay will play for the shirt, and, we need players who will play for the shirt. So I wouldn't be surprised if he picks McTominay. The problem with picking McTominay is it probably forces Bruno to the number 8 or the wing, and I just think we need to win. One thing I will say is that we're playing shit and we're not winning games. When you're playing shit and you're not winning games, you can't afford to put your best player out of position. Bruno's got to play at number 10. We can't afford to put Bruno on the wing or play Bruno as a number 8. So if you're going to play McTominay, you can't play him as a number 10. And that's his best position. So I don't know where you fit McTominay in. Maybe you play him as a number 8 next to Amrabat. I don't know. But Bruno's got to play as a number 10. I would pick Rashford. I know he's playing dreadful at the moment. But look, maybe, Rashford's got a goal in him. Anthony's not playing well at the moment, but he will play for the shirt and he will play for Ten Hag. And Højlund obviously has to start. Score prediction. 1-0 United. 1-0 United. And I've got no confidence in that at all. Absolutely none. But Disease Game says Rashford has to be dropped. Well, look, if he wants to go with Garnacho, I don't mind it. But Garnacho really struggled the other night. I mean, Livramento's a good player. Garnacho had a bad game, but Livramento is a good player. But it's going to be a tough game. And, what price fucking Pereira scoring or something like that, wouldn't surprise me. Mouse Rat, thank you very much. Welcome to Members Club. What about Mount, says Taylor? I mean, where do you play Mason Mount? The one thing I don't want to see is Bruno being played out of position. Bruno gets a lot of pelters, but, he doesn't get played in his natural position. If you want to try Mount in the number 8, it might cost us a goal. He cost us a goal. That first goal from Newcastle, I don't know what Newcastle player it is breaking away, but they just run through Mason Mount. Like, you can't do that. It's down in tools on the middle of the pitch. I think play Scott and Bruno right. Oh, Robert, why are we putting Bruno Fernandes on the right wing? You can't put him on the right wing. Yeah, I think Bruno has to start. I don't get the problem with Bruno Fernandes in this chat. He still creates chances. He's not played well this season, but he never stops. And at least he will put a tackle in. At least he keeps running. Like, I just don't think we're in a position to drop Bruno Fernandes. I think it's a terrible idea. But this is not something I'm going to argue with. Like, if you want to play Mount, fine. If you want to drop Anthony and Rashford, fine. I mean, I'm not in a position to fight this. I can't. Like, one of the things that's really interesting is that we've had a terrible start to the season. We were very lucky to beat Brentford. We were very lucky to beat Wolves. We were 2-0 down against Forest. Wonder goals against Sheffield United and Burnley. I mean, our 5 wins this season, you could argue we were very lucky to win those 5. So I can't sit here and pretend that, that's the right team to pick and it's definitely going to win. Like, they've been atrocious this season. I mean, it's very hard to make a case for anybody to start the game, apart from if Wan-Bissaka's fit, Varane's fit, and Højlund's fit, and Bruno's fit, I'd start all 4 of them. Anybody else, I mean, take your pick. Gems, you're a gem, has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. And if the Glazers are gone for good, but we get relegated to League 2, would you do it? They won't leave until we're done and dusted, says Chikorito. Mate, hypothetically, if you want to play hypothetical games, I would have, if somebody said to me, the Glazers leave United, you clear the debt and you start afresh, but you start in the National League, I'd take it. I would take it, yeah. I know it's harsh, but I would take it. A hypothetical, I think it would be so important to clear the debt and get rid of the Glazers that I'd start in the National League. And I'd probably fucking enjoy it, And that would get rid of any people who, I mean, actually, I scrubbed that from my mind. What I was going to say is that would get rid of the fake fans. Who the fuck is a fake fan of United at the moment? I mean, who the hell is a fake fan of United at the moment? Why are you still here? I mean, at least we know the people who are supporting this club are, genuine, because there's plenty of other clubs you could go. I mean, if I was a fake fan, I'd be buying a Brighton shirt and putting on a Brighton accent, because what a great club that would be to support. But no, you know what? If somebody said you can get rid of the Glazers and clear the debt and live off your own revenue, but you got to start in the National League, I'd do it. I think it'd be quite enjoyable. We'd still sell 75. The great thing about Man United is if you chuck us in the National League with no Glazers, no debt, starting again, we'd sell it out. We'd sell it out. No one would walk away. They'd stay. So. But that's a hypothetical dream. It's never going to happen. Didn't last night prove it doesn't matter who we play. The entire team is rubbish. Liverpool didn't pick back up until the end of the season last year, says Chris. We will pick up. We will pick up. Just Keevan says, I'd love it. I'd love it. I'd absolutely love United to be in the National League with no Glazers, no debt, start again. Living off our own revenue. I'd love it. It'd be pure. It would be the greatest reset, says Jim. And the fact that so many people are passionately excited about that just tells you what fan base would even contemplate starting again in the National League. Clear of debt, clear of the Glazers. It's idiotic. It's ridiculous. And yet, it sounds lovely. It sounds fantastic. That's how bad the situation is at United, that we would welcome that. We would welcome that. And you know, if anybody wants to evidence just how fed up United fans are with this world of the Glazers, that evidence is there. I saw somebody on Twitter today, and I forget their name, and they were like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but all I hear from United fans on Twitter is we need a proper structure from top to bottom. I don't remember hearing this last year when they were doing well, and I didn't reply because, you know, life's too short. But I thought, what a ridiculous comment. Like, so you're making out that United fans, because we're losing, have started talking about structure from top to bottom. We were winning last year and people were protesting. Like, United fans have been talking about structure from top to bottom for years. For absolutely years. But the fact that most of us would probably go down to the National League to reset just shows the power. And, you know, again, it doesn't restore my faith in the fan base. It just enhances it, because I know that we disagree. I know that some people wouldn't put Rashford in, or they wouldn't put Bruno in, and I don't care. You know, I don't agree, but I don't care, because you've all got your own opinion, and I don't care if you Ten Hag out. It doesn't bother me. You know, I just would urge you to not be angrily Ten Hag out, but actually think about what you'd do if Ten Hag did go and what happens. Because for me, I think things get worse. I think it's McLaren and Fletcher and a world of pain. But, you know, it is all about opinion. And obviously I have to project my opinion because I'm presenting the show. But look, I don't want this fan base arguing with itself, but I can't stop that. To me, I wish we could all live in harmony, united behind one cause, which is to make this club better. But we're all going to have different opinions and everything like that. But and unfortunately, we've walked this road before, where, you know, people get very passionate about their opinion and start, you know, causing toxicity and, you know, bullshit and lies and arguments. And we've been here before. It happened with Van Gaal, you know, it happened with Mourinho, it happened with Ollie, and it'll happen here. So fasten your seatbelts. But ultimately, yeah, we are in limbo, I suppose, and we await and see. But I'll say what I said at the start. This is sacking by media. They're trying to sack him. Only the fans can sack this manager. Mouse says, does the manager need to take responsibility for continue to try the high press with slow second choice centre-backs who sit deep? There's no support for the attackers and we're wide open on the counter. Yeah, you know, it's a good point, Mouse. It's a shame you've done it at the end. I wish you were the president of Man United, says Devon. I wish most of you were. You know, I don't think I'm unique. I think most of you would have the best interests of the club at heart as well. Tactically, we're trying to press high up the pitch and we're very good at it, but it does leave us exposed on the break with slow defenders. But the minute you start doing what Ollie did at the end and you start playing a back five, you're gone. I respect Ten Hag for trying to stick to his morals, because the minute you start, you know, parking the bus, you're in trouble. You're surviving. And the trouble with surviving is, at some point, you'll die. And I think Ten Hag is just sticking to his principles. These journalists with Ten Hag out have had that story in their draft folder since he arrived, says Reb. And Jack says, I started watching football and supporting United during Ollie's last year as manager. I could have just swapped a red shirt for a blue, but I didn't. Fair to you, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching. Big day tomorrow. Ten Hag's press conference, 10 o'clock show, Friday night show. We need that. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Don't forget, tomorrow Friday night show, I'm announcing the special guest for the Christmas show. There could be an influx of sales for the Christmas show. If you want to get your tickets, links in the video description. The special guest gets announced tomorrow. And the free tickets will be announced on the podcast, which comes out tomorrow morning, Goldbridge Saves Football. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. And I think we take our medicine this year and keep Eric Ten Hag till a new board comes in, says Gavin. I like it. I like it a lot. Take care, everyone. Speak to you soon.